The journey to fluency. Ayana's story. Ayana was 22 years old when she decided to learn English. She lived in a small town where no one spoke the language, and the only English words she knew were hello and goodbye. She always admired people who could speak English fluently. They seemed so confident and free, able to communicate with people from all over the world. It felt like they had a secret key to new opportunities and experiences. Ayana wanted that key, but she had no idea how hard it would be to earn it. In the beginning, Ayana was full of enthusiasm. She bought textbooks, downloaded apps, and started watching English movies with subtitles. The first few weeks were exciting. Every new word felt like a small victory. She memorized the alphabet, learned some basic grammar, and could introduce herself with confidence. But soon, the excitement wore off, and the struggle began. English was everywhere, but it seemed impossible to master. She couldn't understand native speakers when they talk fast, and the grammar rules were confusing. Why did English have so many tenses? Past perfect, present continuous. It was a maze of rules that made her feel lost. Ayana would spend hours practicing, but progress was slow. She would often say things incorrectly or forget words when trying to speak. The more she tried, the more frustrated she became. She remembered sitting at her desk one night after months of practice, trying to write a simple sentence in English, but the words wouldn't come. She put her head in her hands and cried. Maybe this isn't for me, she thought. Maybe I'm not smart enough. The next morning, Ayana woke up feeling defeated, but something deep inside her wouldn't let her quit. She remembered a piece of advice she once heard: the only way to fail is to give up. So, despite the frustration, she decided to keep going. She told herself that every mistake was part of the journey. For the next few years, Ayana made learning English part of her daily routine. She would wake up early in the morning, spending an hour reading or practicing grammar. On her way to work, she listened to English podcasts, even though she could barely understand them at first. Every evening, she watched a 30-minute English show without subtitles, trying to catch as many words as she could. It was hard, really hard. There were days when Ayana felt like she was making no progress at all. She saw friends and colleagues achieving success in other areas of their lives, getting promotions, starting families, while she was stuck in her endless struggle with English. She began to wonder if she was wasting her time. 7 years of trying, and she still wasn't fluent. Was it worth it? One day, Ayana was sitting at a cafe, reading an English article on her phone, when she heard a tourist struggling to communicate with the barista. He was asking for directions, and the barista didn't understand him. Without thinking, Ayana stood up, walked over, and offered to help. She translated the tourist's request into her native language, feeling a strange sense of confidence as she spoke. The tourist thanked her, and the barista smiled gratefully. It was in that moment that Ayana realized something incredible. She had understood everything the tourist said. She had spoken without hesitation. For the first time in her life, she felt fluent. The years of struggle, the countless hours spent learning, the frustration, all of it had paid off. She wasn't perfect, but she could communicate. From that day forward, something changed in Ayana. She still made mistakes. Of course, there were still words she didn't know, and sometimes she struggled with complicated sentences. But she no longer feared these challenges. She had built the confidence to speak, to listen, and to keep learning. She knew that fluency wasn't a destination, but a journey. Looking back, Ayana realized that the hardest part hadn't been the grammar or the vocabulary. It had been the perseverance. It took 7 long years of daily practice to get to where she was. There were countless moments when she had wanted to give up, when she had doubted herself and her ability to learn, but she hadn't quit. That, she realized, was her greatest achievement. She had made the right decision to never give up, despite the long and difficult road. She had become fluent in English, and the skills she gained weren't just language-related. She had learned resilience, patience, and the power of determination. Now, Ayana works as a translator. She helps others who are struggling with the language, encouraging them not to give up. Just as she hadn't, she tells them, if you keep going, no matter how hard it seems, you will get there. The key to fluency and talent, it's persistence.